Este estudiante ya no puede ser doctor, pero el camino se va a ver muy diferente. Va a cambiar, a lo mejor va a tener que ir a un junior college para tomar esa clase de física. O sea, es otro camino totalmente diferente que si algunos chicos ya saben qué camino quieren seguir o en la matemática, ingeniería, consejería, lo que sea, pueden ya tomar esas clases para ir en ese cierto camino. Eso todavía es posible, nada más es otro camino que van a tener que tomar en el colegio, que a veces para las familias es como un paso que no tomaron, que ya años después hubieran querido saber, ¿no?
En inglés.
And it's not also that that student cannot be, Dr. Llorente was referring to a student who missed an AP physics course and unfortunately couldn't go on track to apply for School of Medicine at different universities. And it's not that that student can no longer go to those universities. It's just going to look like a different route to get there. And there might be some junior college courses, some city college courses, or an undergrad, applying for an undergrad degree for a different degree entirely, not medicine, and then switching later. So it's important to know all these things beforehand if you know your career or field of choice.
Muchísimas gracias. So I was just giving this a general view, y es verdad que a veces yo puedo ser un poco derrotista, pero lo importante es que entiendan que cuantas más información sepan, más poder tienen, ¿no? The more information you have, the more power you have for the future. Okay, let me just do this for you so we can, what happened there? Okay, yeah, we got it.
Perfect. Welcome, everybody. Well, yeah, some of our local high schools here. Who knows where they're attending? 8th graders. All right. Anyone younger know where they're attending maybe so far? We have younger people here. Well, we have a lot of high schools in our area and even more in our surrounding area. These are just some of the many, and they all have different programs, various programs. If we worked already together in 8th grade, I see some familiar faces that we've had meetings with already about what school they want to go to. So there's a lot of options around Santa Ana area. These are just a few here so you all can see. Aquí están las preparatorias de nuestra área aquí de Santa Ana. Hay muchísimas charter schools públicas. Todos tienen un poco sus clases diferentes. A veces son más de deporte o de arte, pero sí hay varias para de cuál escoger.
Lo siento. Bueno,
thank you.
De nada. Está
en Zoom y está en el otro.
Ha decidido, la reunión anterior fue fácil, pues ha decidido hacerme difícil la segunda. ¿En español?
Oh, pues ya lo hice.
Lo hablamos ya esto, simplemente que ya saben, ¿no?, cuántas las escuelas que hay, las preparatorias que tenemos alrededor.
A ver cómo se...
No.
Te va a tocar. What is high school like? We have some few high school students here already. There is a lot more classes. I know here in middle school, we have about 4 or 5 various teachers. We switch from class to class. We have our small little hallways, but there are a ton of classes that you can take, even 0 period to 8th period, and a bunch of extracurriculars that you can do. Depending on your school, there will be a lot of students. How many students did you have at your old high school?
2,200.
I had about 2,800 at the high school I worked at before this. And there's a lot more staff. So there's a lot more counselors. I'm not used to being the only counselor. There's usually a team of 5 or 6, a lot more teachers, a lot of people and adults that you'll see that you probably won't even know, but they work there. So it's a big difference compared to our school here at OCEAA.
If I can just add, the fact that you have a lot of classes means that you're going to have more choice. So some of the classes you have to take, these are graduation requirements, and some of them are not graduation requirements. So that's where, when you're building your schedule, you start to think, okay, what is that I like? And sometimes even like, what is the path that I want? And if a student already kind of has an idea of what they want early on, it's very good, because let's say that you're saying, I want to be a nurse, and I want it already at my freshman year. Then you can start picking classes that align to that. So there is something that you can do in relation to that. There is choice in high schools. Depends on how big it is too. I imagine smaller high schools have less choice.
Oh, get out.
They have a
Get
lot
out.
of opportunities for that.
Sí, en la preparatoria hay varias clases que van a tomar sus estudiantes. Puede ver hasta 8 en un día, en 0 periodo y 7º periodo también. Hay muchos más estudiantes. La escuela anterior donde trabajó doctor Llorente había casi 3,000 y donde yo trabajaba había como 2,800 o mucho más estudiantes y también mucho más personal, maestros, consejeros, muchísimos coaches de todos. So, es un cambio muy grande. Para muchos estudiantes y vienen, o sea, o van a una escuela más grande, pero sé que varios aquí van a otras escuelas que no tienen tantos estudiantes, más pequeños también, pero para que sepan también.
Okay, so when you're getting to high school, it's a great opportunity to find like-minded people. So that is one of the good things. You're going to have many opportunities to do things. So you can try out for sports. You can join clubs. So we have a lot of clubs here. So that is not that different. You can try new classes that you've never taken. Maybe you want to learn how to do something in art that you've never thought about before. So there's different choices that you have. You can also start, as what I was saying, kind of considering what is your area of study. Sometimes you have a very clear picture. Again, as I mentioned, maybe you want to go into nursing, but maybe you're not that sure, but you want to do something related to science. Maybe you want to do something related to humanities. If you have an idea where you want to go, you can also select and close down on what you want to do. I think high school is a great time to be whoever you are and just be free and join people that are like-minded. You'll find people that are like you, especially in bigger ones. Like in the school that I was in, 3,200, no matter what your interest is, you're going to find people that share your interest. Do you need 100 friends? No. Do you need a selected group of friends that are working for you? Yes. So that is when you start connecting with people that are similar to you. And you had to start thinking ahead. This is a tricky one because you're starting thinking it's 4 years, you think it's a long time, and by the time you look back, they're gone. So you have to start from the beginning thinking, if this is what I want to do, what is the path that I want for that? And Mr. Luna was explaining and giving you some examples of choices, because then you have choices. Some of them have to do with community college. So you get some classes that are cheaper, then you move into another university. There are many choices. But if you can, not everyone can, but if you have an idea of where you want to go, having those ideas early on can really help. ¿Lanzas en español tú? Okay.
Yeah, also just try new things, get out there. If you go there once and you don't like it, you never have to go again. But if you love it, you might find a new passion of yours that you never knew of. It's also important to know that you guys can also start your own clubs at your school. So if there's not something where you feel you fit in, or there's not your niche there, you can also find an advocate or a teacher to supervise that club, and you can create your own club. At the old high school I was at, we had a club of painting fingernails. And that's the club that the students wanted. And so there was a club of like 30 students, and every Wednesday they'd go and paint their fingernails in different designs. So totally different, just to be together, and they have a similar interest and build community. And that's pretty much the main thing that they did there. So
electronic sports was a very popular one.
Yeah.
So they just play sports with their video games.
Yeah. Y lo importante en la preparatoria es pues tratar cosas nuevas, deportes, un nuevo club, clases nuevas para ver en qué dirección gustarías estudiar o qué clases tomar para el próximo año. Es un tiempo para tener la mente abierta, probar nuevas cosas, hacer nuevos amigos, igual encontrar un grupo de amigos, como estaba diciendo el doctor Llorente, en que puedes confiar y que tengan los mismos valores que tú en la escuela o en el deporte o en lo que sea igual ahí. Piensa en el futuro igual. Hay que tomar esas clases. Si ya saben que les gustan la ingeniería, tenemos que tomar más clases de matemáticas. Si quieren ser doctor, o es más clases de ciencias, consejería, psicología. Eso es muy importante para los papás también, que platiquen con los consejeros, pero que también dejen que sus estudiantes practiquen con sus consejeros también, para que ellos aprendan para abogar para ellos mismos y para que ellos vayan a la escuela. Ustedes no van a estar ahí todo el día, sus estudiantes sí. Eso es algo muy importante también de su parte, que hay que poner un poco más de responsabilidad en ellos. There we go. As Dr. Llorente was saying, yeah, the counselor role is pretty different. The older you get in education, I feel grade-wise, it becomes a lot more academic. Here in OCEAA, it is a bit more social emotional due to our younger grades. And as we get older, of course, I help out with 8th grade and high schools and any questions that parents have in college and career as well. But it's really changes in high school. It's a lot more academic, creating your schedules. You can create a 4-year plan with your counselor your freshman year there. That plan will change, just so you know. And we guide students on career paths on different universities that they might be able to attend. I'm from Santa Barbara, and UC Santa Barbara, we have a huge marine biology program because we have a reef right off the beach there. But you're not going to go to Cal State Fullerton for marine biology because there's no reef nearby. Maybe they have programs over there, but a better school for you might be UCSD as well. And again, supporting students and choosing what they want to do. Sometimes parents want one thing and students want another. So trying to find that middle ground and seeing what the best option is for the student and for the family is something really big that I dealt with constantly when I was back in high school, helping out students. And yes, they are very busy. My caseload was around 600 there, similar it is here, but that's 600 schedules I have to create, parents, students that coming in, students that want to change their classes, emails on top of everything else that we have to do. So set a meeting with your counselor and get to know them. It is a big letter of recommendation that you can get from your counselors if they know you all 4 years. I can write a much better letter of recommendation for you compared to if you just come the last year, 6 months, and then just ask me for a letter of rec. I don't know you personally. I'll only be able to speak about your grades and the classes you took. But a lot of students have good grades, and a lot of students have classes that they've taken as well. So the more you get to know your counselor, the better letter of rec. That'll help you out in university as well. La figura del consejero también cambia en la preparatoria, es un poco diferente de aquí en OCEAA. Aquí es más socioemocional, y ya que seguimos con los grados ya en el noveno, séptimo y octavo también, más grandes hasta la high school, los consejeros son más académicos. Apoyan para crear horarios, un plan de 4 años que le llaman para ya arreglar las clases que vas a tomar desde el grado 9 a 12. Diferente información para universidades o trayectorias profesionales si quieres estudiar biología de la marina, que como estaba diciendo yo, en la Universidad de Santa Bárbara, es un estudio muy grande, pero a lo mejor en Cal State Fullerton, que no está cerca al mar, este estudio de biología no es tan importante o popular, o a lo mejor ni tienen, ni ofrecen esas clases. So tienen que ver y escoger qué tipo de clases o quieren tomar en la universidad. E igual apoyando a los estudiantes y a los papás, porque a veces los estudiantes quieren una cosa y los papás otra. También manejando esas situaciones que los papás quieren que sea doctor, pero el estudiante quiere ser algo de arte. Son pláticas muy difíciles, pero importantes, porque es importante también enseñar a los chicos que apoyarse a ellos mismos, pero también entender la parte de los papás, que ellos van a estar ahí apoyándoles en toda su vida, ¿no? El camino igual.
Y hablabas de los consejeros.
Sí, los consejeros están súper ocupados. Tienen que ir a pedir juntas. Estaba diciendo también que los papás está bien si hacen juntas con el consejero o consejera, pero es más importante enseñarles a sus estudiantes que ellos vayan a la oficina a preguntar, a pedir, a agarrar información, a agarrar más recursos. Es lo más importante, porque sí, tenemos varias juntas. En las escuelas más grandes tenemos 600 estudiantes, que son horarios que tenemos que tomar. Hay juntas, hay EPs, 504s, so hay mucho que hacer. Entonces, no quiero que piensen que su consejero no quiere saber de ustedes, pero hay mucho que hacer. Desafortunadamente, no tenemos un consejero para 100 estudiantes. Es uno cada 600 o 700.
And I was just going to say that I probably worked because, in a way, I wasn't supervising the counselors, but kind of working and monitoring what they were doing. So at one point, I probably worked with maybe 25 each year, and like in everything, some of them are phenomenal and some of them are not that great. So, and you're not going to have any control over that. You have control over the amount of advocacy that you have for your kids. So that's something to also consider, okay? Yo trabajé con muchos consejeros, no los supervisaba, pero casi, porque tenían que hacer los horarios para dual y ciertas cosas, y los había maravillosos y los había aquí un poco menos. Entonces, No les van a poder cambiar el consejero porque va por letra del apellido normalmente, pero ahí es cuando ustedes pueden entrar y abogar un poco por sus hijos.
Yes, high school state requirements for graduation. These are your basic requirements for the state of California. However, different districts do have different graduation requirements. It might be a health class. We have maybe certain health classes here. It might be now ethnic studies. So there might be different ways to attain this. Yeah, that might be actually rescinded. But there are different requirements for high school graduation, which are different than college requirements to apply to colleges, which we'll get into a little bit right now. So you don't need to know all this right now. It is very important. You will see this many times throughout your years, but it's important. The classes that you need to take: 3 English courses, 2 courses for math, 2 for science, 3 social studies, which include government and econ. Visual performing arts can be photography, various things. You need PE as well. But there is a difference. I want to make that clear between high school graduation requirements and A through G requirements, which allow you to apply to 4-year universities in California and throughout the country, but 4-year universities.
So just see, he explained it perfectly. Just for understanding, one of the things is how many classes you have to take to be a high school graduate. So that is one for the state. Another one is how many classes that high school asks you to have to graduate from that high school. And the third one is what are the credits that university requires for you to get in the university. 3 different things. So you can have a high school graduate with the minimum requirements from the state that would not be able to get into a university with those, maybe to some and not to some others, but not maybe it would reduce the amount of choice. So I just want to make it clear that these are different ways of considering graduation. So we'll do it in English now. Yeah.
Igual para graduarse de la preparatoria, necesitan tomar varias clases. Aquí están todas las clases que tienen que tomar por el estado de California para graduarse de la preparatoria. Pero hay una diferencia en graduarse de una prepa y también agarrar y tomar todas las clases que necesitas para aplicar a una universidad de California, que son los CSUs o UCs. So, para el estado, para graduarse, son 3 clases de inglés, 2 de matemáticas, 2 de ciencias. Hay varias aquí que tienen que tomar, pero cambia a veces en cada condado. O si están en Tustin, en Anaheim, en Santa Ana, puede cambiar y las clases pueden ser diferentes, pero ahorita en un momento vamos a platicar también de qué clases deben de tomar para aplicar a universidades, como dije, en California, que es 2 cosas completamente diferentes. ¿Vale?
Sí, lo que estábamos diciendo, que uno puedes tener el haber pasado high school, entonces tienes tu certificado de la preparatoria, pero no te da acceso todavía a las universidades porque pueden tener más requisitos. Entonces hay como unos requisitos mínimos y luego unos requisitos de acceso.
¿Y nosotros hacemos los requisitos mínimos?
Oh.
No, everyone should say no, no. Here are the A through G requirements. Similar to high school requirements, but they are different. 2 years of history. We see here 4 years of English. In the high school one for the state of California, it said 3. 3 years of math, 2 years of science, and there are asterisks here because if I want to be a math major and I want to go to Caltech, MIT, Berkeley, big schools, should I only take 3 years of math? I should probably take 4, and there are even students taking 5 or 6.
Yeah.
In city colleges, in dual enrollment and all that. If I want to be a doctor or go into science, biology, should I only take 2 years of science? No, this is the minimum to apply to a university. That's just to like, okay, you can send me your application. That's not to get in. So this is the base level, and I need everybody to understand that. Again, visual and performing arts and a college prep elective would change from school to school.
And I just want to say, this is one, at least in what I've seen, and again, I have the experience of Illinois, but it seems pretty similar. If you remember, they were asking for 1 year of foreign language, but most universities are going to require 2 years of foreign language, as far as I know.
Yeah, or more.
Or, yeah.
More is better.
Yeah.
More is better. Yeah. So aquí están los requisitos de A a G, que son diferentes para graduarse de la preparatoria. Son dos cosas diferentes. Estos son las clases que tienes que tomar para aplicar a las universidades de California, que son CSUs y UCs. Ahora, esto es lo mínimo. Si quiero ir a la universidad a estudiar matemáticas, aquí dice que tengo que tomar 3 años de matemáticas, pero en realidad para entrar a una universidad que ya es más competitiva, UC Berkeley, MIT, Caltech, que está aquí a la vuelta, tenemos que tomar 4 hasta 5 clases de matemáticas. Igual va con ciencias o cualquier cosa que gustas estudiar, tomar más clases en esa área es mejor. Esto es lo mínimo para aplicar, para mandar tu aplicación. Es todo. Ahora, si quieres salir adelante, pues hay que tomar otro año de historia, otro año de inglés, a lo mejor hay clases en la universidad que podemos tomar ya como estudiantes en la prepa. Es muy importante saber esa diferencia. No nada más es decirle al consejero, mi estudiante se va a graduar de la prepa, te pueden decir que sí, pero luego si preguntas, mi estudiante califica para los requisitos A a G, a lo mejor le dicen que no.
¿Cámbiate todavía? Sí. Oh, tenemos todavía batería. Okay, so do you mind if I do the GPA? The GPA is, if anyone has been to a high school, they know what a GPA is. If anyone hasn't been to a high school, it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So this is basically an average of all the classes that the students take. And in order for someone to calculate in the GPA, they have to pass the class. This is different than what happens when they are younger. A student can take classes, they don't pass them, but they keep on moving forward. In a high school level, if you don't pass the class, you don't get the credit for that class, and it's not part of a GPA, yeah? So that is a big change for some of the students at a freshman year, that they come and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, if I don't pass this class, all the time that I spend working on that class doesn't count. It's true, it won't count because you didn't pass the class. Once you pass the class, they are going to be averaging depending on the grade that you got, yeah? So if you see there, if you get an A, they're going to give you 4 points, basically. If you get a B, they're going to give you 3 points. If you get a C, they're going to give you 2 points. And if you get a D, which is passing, they'll give you 1. Then they're going to get all the classes that you have and average that amount. And then based on that number, you're going to have an average GPA, yeah? That is the one that universities consider when you're doing an application. There will be universities that will tell you, do not apply if your GPA is less than 2.6, which means that if you have less than 2.6, they won't even look at your application. So, and that is something that you're going to see in the applications for universities, yeah? And if you take any normal class, that is what you do, 4 points maximum. So if you do phenomenal in that class and you get 95%, they'll give you a 4. But some classes work over 5 instead of 4. So if a student is taking an honor class, taking an AP, which is advanced placement class, or a dual enrollment class, which is a class that you take with a university at the same time. It's like if you took it at a university, but you take it at the high school. They have the same syllabus, the same expectations. It's like you took it at the university, but they come to you at a high school level. If you take those ones, a lot of them are going to be 5 points, which means that if you get an A, then you get 5, yeah? If you get a B, you get 4. If you get a C, you get 3, and a D will be 2. So it actually counts 1 point higher. Why is that good? Because it brings your GPA even higher. There are students in high schools that have a GPA of 5, or 4 point whatever, insane GPAs, because they take a lot of very difficult classes during the time that they have in high school. Oh, and the D doesn't count for
high school. D, if you get a D, it does not count for A through G requirements.
No.
This is where your child can still make high school graduation, but if they have a D there, they won't be able to send their application to Cal State universities or UCs because of that D. So I had a lot of seniors who got a D in Math 1 their freshman year, and they come to me and I say, well, you didn't want to go to summer school, but now you want to apply to college, so they have to take an extra class their senior year, lose a sport, lose an elective, and take Math 1 with all the 9th graders all over again, which is not fun. but necessary.
Yeah, so that's when the conversations start being a little bit different. And then counselors are going to have also those conversations about students, what they are thinking. We are aiming for graduation in 4 years. I always think that students have a chance to go to university, because university is not only I'm going to be a doctor or an architect. University offers many different options for students. You can do an associate's on something that is going to be super practical, like, I don't know, X-ray machines, and you're going to learn how to do that, and you get a title from a university. You're accredited for that, and you're making 55,000 as you come out, 60,000, which is not a lot, but it's something when you're just starting. So university is not just certain things, but other things as well. And then you have community college and other options. But this is kind of important in terms of the GPA. Think about that from the beginning, because students don't think about this. They think about passing, not passing. They are not considering the GPAs. And then when they are reaching senior years, when they start thinking, oh my God, my GPA is low. What can I do now? Well, the problem is you're at a senior year. Even if you get 4 in everything, we are not going to bring it up that much. We can do a little bit, but not a lot. And I've had conversations with the students about that. And so, I mean, ok. Te voy rápido, ¿no? Me pides. Ok, el promedio de las clases es el GPA y esto es lo que van a necesitar para cuando entren en la universidad. Cada clase va a tener como un promedio diferente. Si sacan una A son 4 puntos, una B son 3, C2 de 1 y la D no cuenta a la hora de como requisito para la universidad. Cuenta como si se quieren graduar, pero no para la universidad. Las clases regulares les ofrecen 4 puntos y pueden hacer una media sobre eso. Las clases de honores, que son más avanzadas, las clases de AP, que son Advanced Placement o emplazamiento avanzado, no sé cómo decirlo en español. Y las que tienen inscripción dual valen 5 puntos. Inscripción dual es cuando los niños toman una clase en la escuela, en la preparatoria, como si estuvieran en la universidad, con los mismos silabarios que tienen en la universidad, las mismas expectativas, exámenes igual, pero lo toman en high school. Cada clase tiene un valor diferente y luego las universidades les piden una cantidad para poder entrar. A lo mejor una universidad dice, tienes que tener un GPA de 2.6, si no lo tienes, no podrías entrar. ¿Ok?
Igual si sacan una D en sus clases de la preparatoria, sí cuenta para graduarse de la prepa, pero no para aplicar a las universidades de California, que son los CSUs y UCs de nuevo. Again, we kind of spoke about this already, AP classes, honors classes. There are different pathways and CTE, career and technical education pathways that each school has. Some might be nursing, some might be for mechanics. There are different more research-based programs. I know you can speak a little bit more about that. The International Baccalaureate program, there's more research-based in various subjects in history and English and science. They do more research-based work there and project-based. And again, we have dual enrollment, which is a student taking classes at a local college or university for credit. Now, that's something that's really important because everybody wants their child to take dual enrollment classes, but you have to know your child because not every child is ready to start college when they are 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17 years old. So I know we want to set them all up for 5.0s and dual enrollment classes. If you would have put me in a dual enrollment class freshman year, no way. Sophomore year, no way. Junior year, probably not. So you really have to sit down and have that conversation with yourself and your student to know that this is something that's very serious. They are starting college as a teenager while taking on high school, maybe sports, maybe home stuff, maybe friends, maybe winter form, to just take a step back. And there will be more than enough time for all of that, but it has to be the right time. And I see a lot of parents and students want to take all of these all freshman year. 3 weeks into the semester, they want to get out of the classes already and say, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. And I say, I told.
So, so these are some offerings that are more advanced, and it is true. You have to be very careful about taking a lot of advanced classes because it's a lot of work. Even if the student is really able, it's a lot of work. So, like very few people can handle more than 2 AP classes in a year, 3 AP classes in a year. Some people can, but most people really struggle with that. So you don't want to overwhelm people, but just so you understand, AP classes, what is that? advanced placement. This is College Board. It's an organization of all the colleges that decides some kind of a program that the students have to follow. And they take an exam at the end of that class. If they pass the exam, this is an important element. If they pass the exam at the end, they get credit for the university. If they don't pass the exam at the end, they only get the credit for the high school. I just want to make this clear. So, and it is advanced material. So it's good, but it is one that you only get credit from university with a test that you do at the end of the year that is really strict, by the way. This is different because dual enrollment, what you're doing is taking the university class in the high school. So if you pass the class, you automatically get the credit. You don't have a test. You have the test that they would do if they were at university. But this is a university class, and these are kids, yeah? I mean, they are teenagers. But so these are, as Mr. Luna was saying, good considerations and conversations to have, because it is important to consider this as an option. I think it is. You should consider it. It is a good option for kids. But at the same time, it can be a lot of work. So we don't want to overwhelm the kids, yeah? CTE, as you were mentioning, pathways in general, pathways and CTE sometimes have connections. Sometimes students leave high schools with an associate's degree. I've had students that left high school with an associate's degree, depending on the university.
Void.
Sometimes they do dual enrollment, enough classes that by the time they finish, they actually have an associate from a university. So it is possible. So there is lots of cool things, but again, we don't want to overwhelm the kids, yeah? But these are good conversations to have with the counselors.
Would you rather have AP classes that get C's, honors classes and get A's, or college prep classes and get all A's?
Well, if you're going, yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you're taking an AP class, just because you're taking an AP class, you get a C and you don't pass the test, technically that counts as a B in your AP, in your GPA. So it's not too bad, actually. But you're not getting any credit for university, yeah? If you're taking a dual enrollment class and you get a C, it's going to be a B, but you're getting the credit for the university with a C. So there's a lot of things going on here, yeah? But and not every university has those offerings.
There is some schools that offer you to go to the kids to go to this college, and they actually have the professor come to the high school.
Yeah, and sometimes what they do is that that's what we did when we have enrollment, the dual enrollment, pre-place of employment, is that they actually prepare our teachers. So they train the teachers to teach in our schools. So it's our teachers trained by the universities.
How accessible are college professors by email? Not very. And students need to advocate. Perfect, yeah, great. But most, if you're taking a physics 101 or physics 102, it's very hard to get in connection with them, and the same relationships that you have with teachers, it's very different.
Entonces, muchas veces se les preparan en las escuelas para que sean como los maestros universitarios y tengan la misma certificación. Para nosotros era realmente complicado porque tenían que tener primero la acreditación y luego la capacitación. Entonces, buscábamos maestros que lo pudieran hacer y así los teníamos. Pero bueno, clases que pueden hacer en secundaria que son buenas, las clases de Advanced Placement o avanzadas de College Board, entiendan que estas son un poco diferentes porque toman una clase avanzada de mucho trabajo, mucho trabajo, pero luego para poder sacar el crédito de la universidad tienen que pasar un examen al final del año. Es un examen que se valora como, depende de la que sea, pero suele ser 3, 4, 5. Normalmente es el 4 el que suelen dar crédito. A veces dan con el 3 en algunas, pero 4 o 5, ¿no? Entonces van a conseguir crédito universitario dependiendo de lo que saquen en ese examen. Si no pasan el examen, simplemente tomaron la clase avanzada y les dieron el crédito de high school, la preparatoria. Clases de honores es diferente, eso no tiene un examen al final, simplemente valora más alto, porque es una clase más avanzada de su preparatoria. Hay caminos diferentes que pueden tomar los niños en medicina, bueno, medicina no, pero a veces relacionado con sanidad, enfermería, rayos X. Yo los he visto en cuestiones de atención a los niños, pediatría, los he visto en automoción. Hay cosas, incluso ahora me sale welding, ¿cómo se dice? Soldadura. Cursos de soldadura que pueden hacer durante la universidad, o sea, que pueden hacer cosas así. Y mucho de eso es en la educación profesional, que es CTE también. El bachillerato internacional es una cosa un poquito diferente, muy interesante, no tengo el tiempo de explicarlo. Hice todo un estudio sobre ello, pero si alguien lo encuentra y le parece interesante, sí es una buena opción. Y por último, pueden tener matrícula doble, como hablábamos, con una universidad donde o bien los maestros de la universidad vienen a dar la clase, o bien los niños van a la universidad, o bien se capacita a los maestros de la escuela para que enseñen la clase como si fuera la universidad. Y siguen la clase exactamente como si fuera la universidad. De hecho, a nosotros nos suponía un problema porque tomaban los trimestres diferentes a como los tomábamos nosotros. Entonces, a veces tenían calificaciones que no encajaban con las que les estábamos dando nosotros en la escuela. Ah, ya. Gracias. Can I do this one? Yep. Okay. This is super important, actually. So that's why we put it. As I mentioned before, I worked in high schools for about 7-8 years. One of my findings when I work with high schools is that a lot of counselors don't understand students that come from dual language enrollment programs. They don't understand that they already have Spanish. So sometimes when they place them in a foreign language classroom and the kid says, I want to continue with Spanish, they put them in Spanish 1. This is changing. Counselors are learning more and more what they are supposed to be giving students, but you can still find some counselors that don't really understand. If you go to a high school where they get an influx of a lot of dual language students, they've already gone through this and they know. So they will tell you, yeah, you have a dual language. They are going to start with a class for heritage speakers, and then they'll move into AP Spanish, and then they're going to be doing AP Spanish Lit. They have a system, but if they don't know about this, they may misplace them. So please check the Spanish that they give your kids when they get to high school. They shouldn't be doing any Spanish for foreign speakers. It's not for them. I would say even level 3. Sometimes they try to do that and they say, we'll give them level 3 or foreign. No, the kid doesn't need to learn the names of the fruits. The kid doesn't need to learn the colors. No, that's not what they need. They need to be reading literature. They need to be writing. They need to be doing something completely different. So unless the school doesn't have any offerings for Spanish speakers, and then you don't have a choice but to put them in Spanish 3 or something like that, please check the Spanish they are giving to students if they choose to continue with Spanish. They should be improving their Spanish, not otherwise. Okay, some other things important. If they take the AP Spanish class and they pass that test, they automatically get credits for university. Yeah, so that's a great one because they come with the Spanish. They don't have to do a lot for that. In fact, they don't have to take the AP Spanish class to take the test. They can take the test, and if they get a 4 or a 5, automatically get their credit for university without taking 1 day of AP Spanish class. Okay, so all those things you need to start considering to provide all the opportunities to the students. Yeah. Another thing that you need to understand is that the students fulfill a specific set of requirements in Spanish and in English, in this case, because it's Spanish and English. It could be Korean and English. It could be Japanese and English, any language and English. They can get what they call the seal of biliteracy. You can get it through the requirements that you get through high school, or they have a test that is called the seal of biliteracy test, and they pass it and they complete both the English requirement and the Spanish requirement. Yeah, if they do that and the requirements for the seal are different depending on the state, they get a seal. It's a seal, and they put it on their diploma. It's pretty cool. It's going to be different. Yeah, it's going to be different depending on the state. It looks different. I've seen the one in Illinois. I've seen the one in California. It looks different. This seal is something that actually people know about. So if you bring your diploma with a seal, people kind of know what a seal of biliteracy is. But also universities can provide credits depending on which one, if you have a seal of biliteracy. I've seen universities giving anywhere from 4 to 12 credits for a seal of biliteracy. So you can bring that up and say, my kid has the syllabary literacy, because then they are going to say, okay, then they don't need to take Spanish 101, they don't need to take Spanish 102, they don't need to take all these classes because they are automatically given to them. And that allows them to take less of those classes and take more of the specific classes that they want for their field. So some important things, I don't want to go very deep into the requirements for the syllabary literacy. Some kids automatically fulfill the requirements even if they don't take the test. So let's say that a kid takes AP English and AP Spanish, and they pass the AP English test with a 4, I think it is, and AP Spanish with a 3 here. It was a 4 there. Okay. And AP Spanish with another. If you pass those, automatically they say, okay, you got the seal, even if you don't take the syllabary literacy test. But please keep an eye on the Spanish class that a counselor gives like to your kid. Okay. So, quería decir que esto es súper importante porque han sido muchos años trabajando con las preparatorias y he visto muchos errores. Cuando los niños vienen de la educación dual y las escuelas no tienen costumbre de recibirlos, muchas veces les dan clases de español que no son las correctas. Cuando han tenido muchos niños, ya saben y tienen todo su propio proceso, pero si no, no saben. Y a lo mejor les dan clase para los que son aprendices de español. Les dan clases para los que no hablan español, ¿no? Entonces, estas no son sus clases, no les pueden dar español 1. Y de hecho no les deberían decir, bueno, no le damos español 1, le vamos a dar español 3 para los que no hablan, español. No, porque ahí están aprendiendo vocabulario, que ellos ya saben, ¿ya? So, tengan en cuenta de qué clases van a necesitar, que van a ser más para hablantes de español. Y tengan en cuenta también que van a intentar conseguir el sello de alfabetización bilingüe, que es un sello que les ponen en los diplomas y que luego les pueden dar créditos a la hora de llegar a la universidad. Las universidades dan créditos, yo en lo que sé, desde 4 hasta 12 créditos, dependiendo de la universidad, les pueden dar por tener ese sello en el diploma.
Igual si tomaron español en 8º grado, que obviamente lo van a tomar aquí, también cuenta como una clase de los requisitos de AAG. So es importante mencionarle eso a su consejero también, o consejera. Also, if they took 8th grade Spanish, which obviously all of our students here do, that counts for a year under foreign language in the A through G requirements as well.
Eso no pasaba en Illinois. Interesante. So, les hablaba también de la clase de AP de español. Hay 2 niveles, una que es de lenguaje y otra que es de literatura. En la de lenguaje, si se pasan el examen al final, también les pueden dar créditos. Y les quiero decir que los niños pueden tomar la clase de AP de español aunque no hayan tomado la clase. Pueden tomar el examen, perdón, sin tomar la clase. O sea que si hay un niño que es bien fuerte en español y quiere tomar la clase y dice, no, hoy, este año voy a tomar francés, porque a mí me ha pasado, que dicen, no quiero seguir con español, voy a tomar francés. Les decía, bien, pero quiero que tomes el examen de AP de español cuando termines el año. Porque si lo pasas, tienes los créditos por ese idioma. Y para el francés no estás preparado para tomarlo. Entonces lo vas a tomar en español. Ok, so es una opción. So basically what we were saying here is that the different levels that you can have, so you can go for something vocational, you can do an associate's, kind of what I was saying, you can go for a bachelor's, the master's, or the PhD. So there's different levels of education that exist. Every university has different requirements and the classes that you're going to need are going to be different too. Van a ver que hay diferentes niveles en el sistema educativo, desde algo vocacional hasta un grado de asociado, la licenciatura, la maestría o llegando al doctorado. Esto es lo más difícil que existe en el mundo. Les puedo decir que es una pesadilla y media cuando uno tiene que intentar hacer esto, pero bueno, se puede terminar. Los requisitos de ingreso van a ser diferentes y las clases son diferentes también. Okay, and very fast, because I mentioned this before, sorry, and then we can go. We are on a credentialing process with EL Education. This is our partner. This is the year we are working towards our credential after, I think, 7-8 years. We are looking for parents for the forum. I'm not part of that forum. EL Education will be talking to the parents. If any of you is available, May 20th at 7:20 in the morning, please complete the form, because we need parents that will be part of our forum for accreditation. It's one of the requirements, yeah? Entonces, si hay alguna familia que quiera participar en un fórum que vamos a tener de padres, que yo no es mío, es de EL Education como parte de la acreditación, es el 20 de mayo, he puesto 7:15, empezamos a las 7:20, pero bueno, 7:15 de la mañana, por favor, completen el formulario, gracias. Completen el formulario porque vamos a necesitar personas, ¿ok? Y es simplemente una reunión que tienen con EL Education, también una oportunidad muy buena para hacerles preguntas a ellos. Hemos hecho charlas sobre qué es EL Education, pero siempre parece como que podemos necesitar o buscar más información. Okay, I think we're good. Voy a terminar de grabar. Gracias a todos los que estuvieron desde casa. Vamos a seguir ahora con preguntas para las personas que están aquí, ¿ok?
Ahora tenemos